Welcome to Constitution Study Television. I am Douglas V. Gibbs, and here's the question. It was emailed to me, and it was actually also one of the comments on one of my myths. My first book is 25 Myths of the United States Constitution. Before it became a book, it was a list of blog posts on politicalpistachio.com. And the second myth is that federal law supersedes state law. It's about federal supremacy and all of that. And basically, what I say in the article is essentially, according to Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution, this Constitution and all laws made in pursuance thereof, and treaties made and shall be made, are the supreme law of the land. So a federal law is not supreme law of the land unless it is made pursuance of the Constitution. So if it's not a constitutional law, then it can't be supreme. And in that case, the states can write law contrary to the federal government. There's this belief that states are not allowed to do anything contrary to the federal government. The federal government is the federal ruler, and they rule over all the states. In reality, the states are the parents over the federal government, and if the federal government's acting in a way it shouldn't be, the states don't have to abide by it. But anyway, okay. So that's essentially what I wrote in that column that this gentleman's questioning. And while he doesn't say certain things, you could tell exactly what he's talking about by his question, or should I say comment. So here's what it says. What if there is no federal law or a constitutional amendment or even a Supreme Court ruling on a certain lifestyle, but the states set laws and regulations against these human rights? Can a community or group of people sue the states for human rights that the federal government has no laws on? Well, first of all, you have to ask yourself, is something like that a human right? And what is the definition of rights, and how are rights supposed to be treated by government? One of our misnomers when it comes to any kind of rights, and I really don't like the term fundamental rights and civil rights and human rights. To me, rights are rights. They're God-given rights. Just like sin is sin, rights are rights. And so I don't like to categorize rights. Government does, so they can rank them and all sort of stuff. Rights are rights. God gave us our rights, and we are endowed with those rights by our Creator. They're self-evident. They're unalienable, and we are entitled to them through the separate and equal station of the laws of God and of God's. The laws of God's and of God's laws of nature and of nature's God. There we go. Declaration of Independence. Anyway, okay. So get back to the point here. So the human rights he's referring to, and I'm going to assume when he uses the word lifestyle, he's talking about transgender, he's talking about gay, homosexual, that kind of thing. And I'm saying, well, the federal government has no authority over it because it's not listed in the Constitution. And any laws that the federal government would make would be unconstitutional because there's no authority granted. Therefore, it's a state issue. And he says, well, yeah, but what if the states are making bad laws regarding that issue? Who governs the states then? Shouldn't the federal government step in and control the states? That's pretty much what he's trying to ask. Now, there's many angles we can take looking at this. And first of all, this is my latest book. It's called A Promise of American Liberty. You can look it up on Amazon. It's $39.99. Now, on page 60, I have a graphic that says this. So I'm going to start with this. Our culture has accepted two huge lies. If you disagree with someone's lifestyle, you must fear or hate them. 2, to love someone means you agree with everything they believe or do. And both of these concepts are nonsense. You do not have to compromise your personal convictions to be compassionate. Now, what I also wrote is I start with Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin emphasized that without virtue, free societies cannot properly function. He said only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As nations become corrupt and vicious, they have more need of masters. With freedom comes responsibility. The responsible society is one that is virtuous. A man with a virtue is a man who possesses sacred honor. It is for the sake of a free society that men must deny the evils of human nature and implement the principles of being virtuous into their own lives. Once again, this is what I wrote in my book, A Promise of American Liberty. Came out just a few weeks ago, early in 2019. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at Barnes & Noble. Write me and I'll sell you an autographed copy. It is best for society and for one's own existence to strive for betterment, to strive to improve oneself each and every day, to be civilized and be restrained from the temptation of mob rule, as among the most important cornerstones of a free society. Then it goes on about how Benjamin Franklin set up, his own virtues, and there was 13 virtues he wrote about. Now, which starts to move away. But now, my point is this. If you're a virtuous society, you're a responsible society, and you act in a responsible manner. Now, that said, in a Christian society, in a moral society, in a society based on freedom, government does not compel you to act a certain way or be a certain person. So, for example, bring up the lifestyles that this gentleman's bringing up. In our society, there's never been a law, or there shouldn't have been a law. If there was, it was local laws in local areas. But there's never been a federal law or a state law that I know of that said, if you have a certain lifestyle, you decide that you're shacking up with another guy or whatever, you're going to be arrested and the key's going to be thrown away, and that's that. Because with freedom comes responsibility, but also with freedom comes respect for other freedoms. For example, I have the right to swing my arms back and forth, swing around, make fists, swing them as much as I want. But my right, or my freedom, to swing my arms stops at the tip of your nose. You have the freedom and the right not to be punched in the nose by my swinging arms. So I have to be responsible with that freedom. So the question is now, do these freedoms interfere with each other? One group is saying yes. Yeah, Christianity is interfering with the lifestyle, saying, well, you can't participate in certain institutions. And it's compelling these lifestyles to have to pursue matrimony in some other manner. And the other side saying, hey, you can't compel me to be forced to verbalize that wedding, to verbalize an acceptance, to normalize that life. You can't accept if I believe it's sin. So there's our back and forth. Now, so I decided, well, you know what? I wonder what the Founding Fathers thought about civil rights way back when. So I got my 1828 Webster's Dictionary here. And actually, I used to have another copy, and it had vanished. And I homeschool. I teach homeschool kids government and economics. And just yesterday, day before I made this video, was the last day of school for the economics class, and the kids all pitched in and got me another copy since mine had vanished. So, thanks, kids. Now, so I looked up civil. I was looking up civil rights, wasn't in there, and I wondered if the term civil rights even existed. I didn't remember ever seeing it in political writings by the Founding Fathers, and then I found civil, and it says, to shut, enclose, fence, hedge, for rule of inhabitants of antiquity, fortified their towns, hedges, stakes. Okay, so it's a township that's protected and guarded. But let's go a little further down. It says, relating to any man. Now remember, this 1828 Webster's Dictionary, the first big dictionary, and it's the closest thing we got to the Founding Fathers, so this is going to be their definitions. Because remember, language changes because, well, for political reasons, more often than not, men change it. Relating to any man as a member of a community. So civil relates to any person as a part of a community. As civil power, civil rights, the power or rights which a man enjoys as a citizen. The rights a man enjoys as a citizen. That's very interesting. Sidestep, rabbit trail, whatever, makes you wonder about illegals and their claims for rights. Well, they're not citizens. So shouldn't their rights be where they're citizens? Just side note. All right, but so anyway, so that's what we've got here. And then I looked up civilization and civil law. Civil law says, in a general sense, the law of a state, city, or country. But in an appropriate sense, the Roman law, the municipal law of Roman Empire, comprised in the Institutes, Code, and Digest, Justinian, and the novel constitutions. Okay, so civil law is the law of the community, of the civilization, of the communities, and so on and so forth. Okay, once again, nothing, lifestyles, we're not saying, oh, you can't have lifestyle. And civil rights is interesting, it was mentioned, but it's basically saying your civil rights are any rights you have as a member of the civilization, is basically what it said. Civilization is the act of civilizing, or the state of being civilized, the state of being refined in manners and grossness of savage life, and improved in arts and learning, the act of rendering, and then the number 2, it says the act of rendering a criminal process civil. All right, so it's, in other words, it's all of us getting together and getting along. We're in our civilization. We have a set of rules that we've established, and we abide by those rules, and we, for the most part, get along. All right, so now, get back to our lifestyle guy. Yeah, but Doug, okay, fine, that's all fine and dandy, but you didn't answer my question. What if a state has a law saying, and I know where he's going with this, hypothetically, well, you can only get married if you're a man and a woman. You cannot participate in the institution of marriage if you're not a man and a woman, for example. And there's nothing in the Constitution that says anything about lifestyle, marriage, that institution. So what happens? It's a state issue. I mean, I don't know what to say. It's a state issue. Federal government has no business getting involved. So yeah, but Doug, it's the right thing to do. I'm coming down to literal authorities here. It's like, you know, if I have a power of attorney that allows a certain person to do something in my life. Someone says, yeah, but Doug, it would be right if you also have them do this, this, and this. And so I didn't give them the power of attorney. Yeah, but it would be the right thing. So they should just be able to do it. No. Power of attorney only says they can do that one thing. The power of attorney, or the U.S. Constitution, doesn't give the federal government any authority over making laws or getting involved in marriage or lifestyle or any of that stuff. States do what the states do. Besides, now we have to say, but Doug, it's a human right. Is it a right? And okay, if it is a right, you have a right to act any lifestyle you want. How are you supposed to handle that right? Number one, remember, your right can't interfere with other people's rights. It looks like it is. But also, let's look at it from this point of view. In the Declaration of Independence, it says that that in order to secure our rights, governments are instituted among men. Prior to that, in the Declaration, it lists a few rights. What does it say? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You have a right to life, you're already alive, so it's liberty. We all have a right to liberty. And the pursuit of happiness. Now, first of all, government was not instituted to protect your rights, and it was not instituted to guarantee your rights. That's what we're being told. That's not what it says in the Declaration. That's not what it says in the Constitution. The word secure is used. Say, well, yeah, but Doug, your health care, You have a right to health care, so government has to guarantee it and protect your health and all that. Really? Where does it say that? Is health care right? Sort of. I'll answer the question in a minute. Who's the greatest threat against our rights? Government is. Therefore, first of all, we don't want government protecting our rights, because if they're the greatest threat against our rights, could you imagine government holding up the shield saying, don't worry, I'll protect you against me? Well, they're one of the greatest threats. So they're not there to protect our rights. And they're not there to guarantee our rights. So the idea is, well, they have to guarantee your right to health care, so therefore the government has to provide universal health care in order to protect your health. Your right to health care, they got to pay for it. They got to subsidize health care in order to make sure you get it, because you have a right to health care. Well, if that's the case, I have a right to keep and bear arms. Should government be subsidizing guns? Should government be taxing people so that they can make sure they can pay for and provide guns for every single citizen? I have a right to keep and bear arms. So if it's government's job to guarantee a right, then isn't it their job then to guarantee that I have a gun? So obviously that's not the definition. That's the definition the leftists come up with. Government's not there to protect your rights. Government's not there to guarantee your rights. Government is there to secure your rights. The word secure is used in the Declaration. The word secure is used in the preamble when it says secure the blessings of liberty. What does secure mean? Well, you put a child in a car seat, not to protect him. You protect the child by not driving like an idiot. The car seat's there to secure them in place where they belong. Okay? Where do your rights belong? In your possession. So it's government's job to secure your rights. In other words, keep them in your possession. Well, how do they do that? Number one, non-interference. They restrain themselves from interfering. After all, what does it say at the very beginning of First Amendment? Congress shall make no law. Government must restrain themselves. In other words, get out of the way. Our rights are ours. None of your business. Don't make laws. Don't do anything. It's up to us. Our rights are up to us. But then the other part is very interesting. When it lists the rights in the Declaration, what does it say? Life, liberty, and the, I know you know it, pursuit of happiness. Every single group I've ever gone to, I'll say life, liberty, and the crowd will shout pursuit of happiness. Everybody knows that line. Everybody knows that is in the Declaration of Independence. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So now we have to ask the question, do you have the right to be happy? No. But you do have the right to pursue it. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay? Start going through that stuff. Do you have a right to health insurance? No. But you have the right to pursue it. Do you have a right to a living wage? No. But you have a right to pursue it. Do you have a right to have a cake baked a certain way, regardless of what the baker wants? No. But you have a right to pursue it. If that baker won't bake it the way you want it, pursue it to another bakery. And if that one won't do it, continue to pursue it until you find a bakery that will do it. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay, so now we go back to well, it's a human right, Doug. Well, I'm glad you want to have your own lifestyle, so be it. Personally, I don't agree with it, but hey, we're in a free society. Do what you do. But don't shove it in my face, because I have a right not to be slugged in the face with it. Swing your arms all you want in your lifestyle, but don't punch me in the nose as you're swinging your arms in that lifestyle, because I have a right not to be compelled to normalize it, to be compelled to participate. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Pursue it. Knock yourself out. I hope that answers the question. So, and it was an anonymous person, I think, that left this. They didn't leave a name or anything. They usually don't. But thanks for the question. Thanks for the talking thing to talk about. So here's our answer. If there's no federal law, there's no federal authority, there's no constitutional amendment, there's no court case regarding a lifestyle, and a state is doing something legally about the lifestyle that the people that are in the lifestyle believe is infringing on their lifestyle, does the federal government have the right to still take it up and make it right? No. Federal government has no authority on that. However, if a state is doing something that's betraying a human right, don't you think that the people or that society is wise enough to eventually take care of that problem, whatever it may be? Does it have to be the federal government to force everybody into compliance if it's the right thing to do? There's this thought that if the federal government doesn't do it, it doesn't happen. I had a homosexual reader one time on my website say, well, Doug, how dare you be against gay marriage? You know, if it wasn't for the federal government, you wouldn't have been able to marry your wife. Well, my wife's Mexican. And my first response is, well, first of all, I'm not hip with the idea that the federal government forced society to allow for interracial marriages. I think the ban on interracial marriages was wrong, but there was no constitutional authority for the federal government to force it into place. But I'm not so silly to think that society itself wouldn't eventually come to that conclusion that that ban needs to be lifted. Just because the federal government didn't do it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It comes down to authorities, right or wrong. You say, yeah, but Doug, it's right if it happens this way, so the federal government should be able to just do it anyway. No. If they're not given the authority, they can't do it. If they want the authority, they can ask the parents, the states, for that authority by proposing an amendment. And the 3/4 of states then can ratify it, becomes an amendment. Then the federal government can write all the law they want on that issue. But if the authority is not in the Constitution, if there's no power of attorney, basically, in the Constitution saying the federal government can do this, the federal government can't, legally. Unfortunately, a lot of things the federal government does. It's a state issue. Lifestyle is a state issue. It's a community issue. I really don't even want the state of whatever putting laws. I mean, why is government making laws regarding marriage anyway? You know, it's like sovereign citizens, which my next video I'm going to do on sovereignty. Sovereign citizens say, well, hey, if you want to be truly sovereign, divorce your wife and then remarry her in the church, not in the state. It's none of the state's business whether or not you're married. You know, it's a thought. You know, in history, the times that the United States has had marriage licenses, it was to control marriage or to tax it. In the South, it was to make sure that whites and blacks weren't marrying each other, it was to control marriage. Then in the 30s and 40s, it was start taxing it. Another way to get money out of us. So they're always trying to figure out a way to squeeze another dollar out of the citizens so they can get the tax money and then spend it in a manner that's unconstitutional. Why is government at any level involved in marriage in the first place? Shouldn't it be like a free market thing? Church? Hey, church, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to do gay marriages. You don't have to only do heterosexual. You decide. And the size of your congregation, which means the amount of money you're going to come in that's going to come in because of your congregation, is going to reflect that decision. Why does government even have to be involved? That's my thought. Now, that all said, I appreciate you spending the time with me. I know this one was kind of long, but I think it was an important question to answer. I am Douglas V. Gibbs. You got any Constitution questions? constitutionspeaker at yahoo.com. Or just come here and watch for the video. And there's a whole string of videos. You can eventually you're going to be able to find one on just about any topic. That's my goal. My goal is that there's going to be so many videos, no matter what your question is, you can stroll down the list of videos and you'll find what you're looking for. So until next time, stay safe and, well, stay constitutional. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.